not me, it's Chief. I'm just arm candying this thing, man.
What? Who's, are you leading the meeting?
Yes, this is Chief's meeting.
It's a chief thing.
Please, Chief. It's Chair of the Traffic Safety Committee.
Yeah.
I thought we had agreed that you were doing that.
No, you're the city safety director.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Remember to unmute yourself if there's
No, we don't have to start with.
We'll call this meeting to order. You want the,
Tuesday, May 30th, 10 a.m.
Good morning. We'll call this meeting to order. This is Tuesday, May 30, 2023, 10 a.m. Traffic Safety Committee public meeting.
roll call?
Roll call, please, Yvette.
Chief Watkins?
Use your microphone, Yvette.
Here.
Bob Harari,
Here.
Brandon Swanson.
Here.
Thank you.
We're all here. Okay, this is the time for public comment. This is the time provided so that persons may speak to the committee on any items not on the agenda. Please keep your remarks to a maximum of 3 minutes. Be mindful that the committee cannot act on items that are not included on this agenda. I see nobody in the audience. How about anybody in the Zoom world?
No.
Nobody has their hands up? Okay. We'll move on to old business. Business A would be our Carpenter Street, northwest of First Avenue, review of a request for a fence to be installed along the west side of Carpenter Street for pedestrian safety.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'll get this thing started.
Please do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, this request came, this is I think the third time that Traffic Safety Committee's been looking at this. It's came from Dennis O'Brien, who's on the Zoom world today, so appreciate that. I just spoke to him the other day, so glad that he's here. Going back a bit, initially this is a request for a wooden fence along the west side of Carpenter, just south of the city limits and north of First Avenue. The thought was because of speeding, a fence could be a safety and pedestrian safety enhancement. So the Traffic Safety Committee at the time went out and looked at it. We noticed that there is a walkway there that's a bit offset from the edge of the pavement. So we didn't see that it was necessarily a pedestrian safety issue. At the first and second appearance of this item, it turned more into a talk about speeding. So at the last meeting, two things, it was like two homework assignments for the committee, which have been completed, and now we can talk about it. One was to have police do a speed survey, which the chief will talk about the results of that in just a second. And also, Javier Hernandez, our project manager in Public Works, he talked to the county the other day about the possibility of a stop sign or some other remedy in the county at the Valley View Carpenter Street intersection. Maybe we could slow cars coming into town at that location. With that, why don't we look at the results of this traffic survey and then talk about what the county said, and then we can have the applicant, Mr. O'Brien, say a few words.
Can we ask IT to let me share it?
Sebastian, can you let us share Rob's screen so the chamber's laptop up on the screen? Thank you.
Good, that's a
Good shot there.
Yeah, and what we're focusing in on the right side of this screen, near that garbage can, I would imagine, right next to the bus stop, going southbound on the west side of the road there. So we did a traffic survey. We actually did two of them. We started one on March 31st, 2023 at 4:15 p.m. and we ran it to April 9th at 7:06 p.m. So we analyzed approximately 60,000 cars. The speed limit there drops from 30 to 25 once it hits the city limits, and our average speed was 28 miles per hour. So our slowest speed was 7, and our fastest, which is probably an anomaly, 83 miles an hour. So our enforcement rating index there is super low, and our average speed would be 28.5 miles per hour. So we would have a 6% enforceable violation section there if we went to the 99th percentile. So showing out of 60,000 cars, our average speed is 28.5 miles per hour, dropping from a 30 to a 25 is, I think, pretty efficient. And then we also did a speed survey for this past weekend, since we knew we were gonna have a lot of vehicles in town, and to see what was happening. We ran it from 5:26:23 to 5:30:23, and we had approximately 22,384 cars come through, and our average speed was 29 miles per hour. So again, the slowest of 7 and the fastest of 76. So still, our average speed for this is 28.5 miles per hour.
Chief, do we know if ambulance or fire could go that fast could that be a reason for the high speed?
It is possible that we could, going code 3, that the ambulance and or a police car could be going that speed.
Okay.
Middle of the night, what have you. And then we also have a street sweeper that's probably running 7 miles per hour. So
7 miles an hour if it was going downhill.
that might be quick for him.
That's pretty quick. Okay. And with that, Javier, would you like to talk about your conversation with the county?
So I had a meeting with a member of the county traffic division. His name's Chad Alinio, last Thursday evening, and being that this intersection is in the county right away, I wanted him to explore an initial dialogue as to the feasibility of possibly putting a stop sign in that, or a four-way stop in that intersection. His thoughts are like, there's really no visibility. These are initial thoughts, right? So there's no visibility issues in that intersection that would potentially warrant a stop sign. It's not near any school where it would trigger like a safe routes to school thing. There is the avenue that they could take where it could get put on a queue to be further analyzed by the engineering department. That queue, he indicated, is potentially a 6 to 8 months waiting period, with the study being another 6 to 8 months to conduct the full study and analyze it that way. One potential recommendation that he made was that being that it goes from a 30 into a 25 mile an hour zone, it changes in that area, that there is a possibility a sign could get placed on the county side via an encroachment permit that says reduce speed, that reads reduce speed ahead. This encroachment permit would be filed, would be granted to the city, so it would be a responsibility of the city to maintain the sign. We didn't get too much into depth. There's potentials with these signs having also road markings that come along with it. Again, this would all be the responsibility of the city to maintain. And that's kind of all I have. I'm expecting an email back from him to make it an official, a correspondence. I had to this morning. I checked my email. There was nothing there, so I sent a follow-up email, waiting response. But
Thank you, Javier. Good job. He said something about after the, if engineering does the review, let's say that's a year from now when they're done with that review, he said has to go through a couple of other commissions to get approval?
correct.
Do you
So at
recall
that
what that
point,
was?
the engineering department would make a recommendation for possible installation of a stop sign. This would have to be reviewed by several committees within the county. I don't know those names. I'm assuming he would include these in the email, but it's not a done deal. It's something that would have to get approved and move forward in that route.
But the encroachment permit sounds like that would be a swift approval, relatively speaking.
Correct. All indications were that he would be the one approving the encroachment permit,
Oh, okay.
and he was going to supply the application in the email.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Okay. Okay. You have the applicant
Yeah, Mr. O'Brien, in Zoom world, do you have anything you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me.
Absolutely, we can hear you.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the committee for sticking with this and diving deeper into this. And I know it's a little difficult when you're talking to different jurisdictions dealing with the county, but I appreciate all the effort and the continued effort on this. Also appreciate the traffic safety study. I mean, I think we all have to admit that over 4 days, having over 22,000 cars roll down into Carpenter, and even if the average speed is closer to 30 miles an hour, it's still above the 25. Those anomalies of a few speeders, they're the ones, as all you know, will probably cause an accident someday if you're doing 80 miles an hour on Carpenter. But I definitely appreciate the diligence of the committee to keep dogging this. I would welcome if you could stay on the county about putting a stop sign up there on Valley Way. That would be helpful. And the reason I bring this up again is that there is no stopping once you come off Highway 1 into Carmel. It's a straight ride all the way down until you get to 2nd and Carpenter before you're supposed to stop. It's a lot of momentum coming down that hill, especially when you have 22,000 vehicles rolling down Carpenter over a 4-day period. So if you could stick with the county on that, I would appreciate it. Because I think this study has shown that there is an issue up here, and it's not going to get better just by ignoring it or not doing anything. And anything that can be done, I think, is in a positive direction as opposed to doing nothing. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I would be in favor of continuing with this study to see if the county would do their feasibility studies and see if a stop sign is warranted. I'm also in favor of any type of signage saying slowing ahead, speed changing, anything of that nature.
I'd like to suggest that we apply for the encroachment permit, put in the reduced speed ahead sign, as soon as we can. Get that put up, and then maybe give that a few weeks, a month, 2 months, do a speed study there, see if there's any difference. Maybe that's the magic cure. We can certainly go ahead and apply for the speed study, but I don't know to what level of extent that with the city involvement. If the city involvement is just filling out an application and turning it in, I don't have a problem with it. But I think I don't think we should invest a lot of city time yet. Let's do this, the reduced speed ahead sign now, full steam ahead, put the sign in, see what happens, do a study again. And before we invest a lot of time on working with the county on the stop sign. If we just fill out but again, it's an unknown. If we just fill out an application, turn it in, they do their thing, even if it takes a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, great, no harm done. I just don't want we have other priorities right now. Those are my thoughts.
I tend to agree. I think one of the things we've done as a committee that has made some of these decisions successful is we've taken a measured, sort of stepped approach to things. And I think that the slow traffic sign, whatever we can get there. And I don't know if you said other encroachments too. I don't know if that also includes maybe like those really thin rumble strips in the street. I don't know what the county would do there. But I do think that that's the next logical step. But I will say, I mean, we saw the survey, over 60,000 cars, the average speed was only 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. So it's not, it's not an endemic of speeding. It is a lot of volume for sure. Like that's indisputable, but I didn't actually see the numbers shake out that there's a real speeding problem there necessarily. I think what the slow signs would probably do is just get people's eyes up. And so that if there is pedestrian along the side there, they're aware of it, but we're not seeing an average speed of 40 miles an hour down that hill.
True.
So I'm definitely in favor of the slow sign. I don't even know if I would suggest we start going down the road of a stop sign until we see whether or not the slow sign does anything. But that's just me, because I don't want anybody to have to spend time on something that's going to take a year to do.
Did you want to say something?
county, Chad did mention there's a couple alternatives that could potentially also help with the situation. One is they don't have, the sheriff's department doesn't really do this, but they would contact the highway patrol to potentially monitor this stretch a little bit more. That he also suggested that sometimes local jurisdictions have an extra police car, and if there's an area or or a car that's has the appearance of a police car, and it's parked in a safe zone there, that it'll kind of give the visual as far as like, hey, there's somebody potentially enforcing this area. Again, this is just initial. I mean, this was just kind of going back and forth with thoughts. Putting a stop sign again in an area that's not warranted for speed purposes could potentially just add to the queuing at that location. And being that there is a big volume of cars, they don't want to queue the traffic back towards Highway 1. So again, this would be a study. There's nothing guaranteed that there would be a stop sign. Those were his kind of like just, 10,000 feet up in the air view of potential reasons why there might not be or a stop sign might not be warranted in this location.
Javier, do you know, would Caltrans have to weigh in on the warrant for the stop sign? Because if they did, they're going to be conservative and not want any potential queuing back onto Highway 1.
I don't have an answer for that, but I'm guessing that as part of their review and assessment of the locations, since the proximity is close to Highway
Right.
1, they would probably
They
have to
might.
reach out to Caltrans and see
Okay,
the
so
impacts there.
that could kill the potential
It
for a
could
stop
kill
sign
it.
in the first place.
It could put it on Caltrans's queue, and we know how that goes. It could be another couple of years before they get back to them. So
Okay.
There's a lot of factors that have to be weighed in, not just locally, but at the state level.
It sounds like the speed sign is, to me, starting to become clear that that's low-hanging fruit. It's easy, it might be effective.
Yeah, this is a
No harm done.
low cost, low hanging fruit type of approach where if it works, great. If it doesn't work,
Do something else.
And what's the potential of the rumble strips that Brandon was talking about?
those being that it's in the county, they would, part of their engineering assessment would probably either make recommendations for rumbles or if they feel that that's appropriate measure.
I'd like to ask Rob what his thoughts are. He's the guy who does our traffic devices throughout town here.
I know just as far as rumble strips and
Like,
I know in the past we've had a lot of noise complaints just on the thermoplastic
Oh, that's-
legends on the street with the
Yep.
tires, running over, making the thump thump.
Yep,
So with a
a
rumble
good
strip
point.
in the middle of a residential
yep.
street, which is also, our main
That can
entrance,
backfire.
that we
Million,
might get.
60,000.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
120,000 front tires, rear tires.
a lot of noise pollution
Yeah.
from those.
Good point, Rob.
Very good point.
This is why you are who you are. Well done.
For a
All
motion.
right, I guess, yeah, a lot of good information there. I would make a motion that we go ahead with the signage showing that we have a slow ahead or
Application to the county
application to the
for an
county.
encroachment permit. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a
I'll
second?
second that. So if your motion is for the city to pursue an application with the county for an encroachment permit to install a slow speed sign there, I would second that.
I'd like to do a friendly amendment that once the encroachment permit is approved as predicted, we install the sign that we do a follow-up speed survey. Say 3 months roughly, 3 months after the sign is
months.
in.
Good.
And would there
Yep.
be any signage in the city limits?
We already have a speed
We have a
limit
speed
sign.
limit
right
sign.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it's up.
it would be
it's just
anything
up in
in
the
the city
county
limits.
area.
It's all in the
Yeah.
county. Just want to make that.
there. Okay, so you accept the
Clear.
friendly amendment
Yes.
to redo the speed study?
Yes.
Good.
You
Yep.
agree?
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Chief Watkins,
Aye.
Bob Harari,
Yes.
Brandon Swanson.
Hi.
Thank you. The motion is passed.
Check that, check.
Good job, buddy.
Thanks, Javier. Good job.
See ya.
Save a life.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. We do have a request for a review for our Friends of Mission Trail National Preserve on banning both conventional and e-bikes from the Mission Trails Natural Preserve for pedestrian safety and prevention of soil erosion. And do we know who asked for this review?
We do. Perhaps we turn it over to Rob, because he's the one who's been initially in contact with Greg D'Ambrosio from the Friends of Mission Trail. What was he talking about? What was he saying?
Yes, Greg, back February 23rd, Greg asked for the Traffic Safety Committee to review the banning of both conventional and e-bikes off the main trails to prevent erosion. I do know that bikes are allowed on the main trails, which is Sarah and Willow. But I guess there's also a problem of the smaller trails being used by mountain bikes. So Greg wants to put a complete ban on bikes in the park.
Rob, could you?
Can I ask a question, Bob, before we go too far? Did Greg get notice of this meeting? Do we know?
Yes.
We know that for sure. Okay. I'm surprised he's not here to discuss this.
Can you? Oh, I think I could as well. But in your opinion, the damage that's been done, erosion, trail damage, moving logs, things that you've seen yourself, damage caused by bikes. Well, I don't think we've seen a lot of e-bikes in there yet, but we've seen a lot of bikes through there. What kind of damage have we seen?
A lot of times they're taking the trails, and they'll be like switchback trails, but they'll jump down the hill onto another trail, creating a path. So in the past, what we've done is put logs across these areas that they've created to stop them from going down those main trails.
Then they move the logs and do it again?
No, we haven't
No?
seen that happen, no.
So the logs are effective.
Yeah.
And how, are we getting a lot of, because I haven't been getting any complaints really for,
We haven't lately. This was probably 2 or 3 years ago. We started doing the logs across the made mountain bike trails.
There are also some that say this is a passive preserve. People are walking, slowly walking through the preserve, and here comes a bike that's coming at them really fast or whatever. I don't know if there's that many problems on the Sarah or Willow trail, but it's when they're off those two main trails, that's when potential problems happen.
Correct.
Do we know, as a planner, I always go back to documents like general plans and things like that. Do we know what the sort of guiding documents that were established for Mission Trails Nature Preserve say about bicycles and use of the trails? And
We were going to ask you.
oh, I don't know. I could look it up, but I thought that would be part of the background for this.
There is a Mission Trail Nature Preserve master plan that's silent on bikes.
Okay.
There's a baseline biological assessment that's, you look, and that didn't have
it
anything
mention
either.
anything about bicycles.
Okay, but do we have any signage out there now that prohibits bikes or says anything about bikes?
I do think there's some small 4-inch signs at the beginning of a couple of the trails that say no bikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But right now, the policy is we allow bikes on those main trails.
Yeah.
but not the two downhill ones. The ones coming from Flanders Mansion
Right.
down into Mission Trails
Right.
area.
Right. Well, part of the problem here is enforcement. So if we put up more signs, more restrictions or whatever, we never know when someone's going to come through with a bike or an e-bike, where they're going to go, how we're going to catch.
It's a difficult area
It's very difficult
to enforce.
to enforce.
So we have to get the call, and then getting somebody on foot, because driving a vehicle through there is sometimes difficult due to the rain, or it gets pretty soft through there.
And the vehicle could cause erosion problems too.
The vehicle could. So yeah, this is a tricky one for enforcement purposes.
Right.
So I'm not sure where the signages are located. I'd like to see that. And then I'd like to see if we can pull any stats to see how many times we've had complaints in this area.
That was gonna be my question, is do we have any statistics on, you know, bike and pedestrian collisions, any sort of, like, do we have any statistics to back up if there's actually a problem here?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing any accidents
Yeah.
on bicycles in that area. I do, through my 20 years, I've
Mm-hmm.
you know, a complaint here or there because of people walking and a bike passing
Sure.
them, but nothing,
Yeah, great.
nothing over the top or extraordinary.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of surprised Greg's not here, because he's there all the time. I mean, he would see stuff. Did he say that he wasn't gonna be able to join us? Did we get any sort of confirmation he'd be able to join us? I mean, I kind of want to hear, you know, like, you think about like a development project, you do want to hear from the applicant, like why they're proposing a project. I'm curious to hear from him what the issue is and how often he sees it and all that. So I'm gonna have a hard time making any sort of decision without some sort of presentation of what the actual problem is and how often it happens.
I would make a motion that we table this until our next meeting. Maybe we can send out some more
Yeah.
emails or try to contact him
Yeah,
to see if he wants to present or give us any findings,
Mhm.
facts that he has.
We can do that. I'd also suggest that for the next meeting, whether it's next time or whenever Greg can join us, I'd like to get, like, we've talked about statistics on the complaints or any incidents we've had. The number of signs and locations, just a little inventory. And any governing documents that talks about what's prohibited, although we looked at the two main ones and it's not there. Would there be the general plan, a recreational element or anything like that?
probably, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there's something, I'm sure that it's mentioned in the general plan, and I don't know if there's a general governing document of Mission Trails Nature Preserve as well, maybe that lives up in Public Works somewhere.
The master plan is the plan.
Yeah, so we should
But it doesn't-
have that
Yeah,
sent out to everybody then.
okay. All right, so if we maybe do our homework and have Greg appear next time, or whoever wants to attend from Friends of Mission Trail to talk
Yeah.
about it and review it at that time?
Sure. I think I asked, but he got a notice, right, of this meeting?
He got it,
Find them on your calendar invite.
yeah, did the calendar invite, the
Okay.
email,
Okay.
we try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like messages went out and
Mhm.
for whatever
And it's
reason,
publicly
it's
noticed.
publicly noticed.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we'll table it and do some homework and come back next time.
Agreed.
Do we need a roll call for this?
We still have to vote on the tabling. Yep. That's a motion, and I'll second that.
All right, so the motion is on the floor to table this until our next meeting, which will be Tuesday, August 29th, 2023 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Chief Watkins,
Aye.
Bob Harari,
Yes.
Brandon Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
With that, we'll call this meeting ended,
Adjourned.
adjourned.
10:30.
Great, short and sweet. It's nature preserve.